Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99, where we've got 99 cards, because Commander's number one. I am one of your hosts, Daniel. I've got Sherman and Slothy with me. Sherman, how you doing?
It's the middle of the week, and it's snowing like crazy, and it's May, and I'm like, why?
We are getting like really weird, very, very weird weather for this kind of year. Like the fact that we are getting middle of spring snow shower. Like it was we had a snowfall warning yesterday of like 15 centimeters. It was a little wild, but
it's crazy. It's just like, granted, like I'm glad we have some sort of moisture, but at the same time, I want it to be nice and warm and sunny because it's spring.
Yeah.
So, anyways, other than that, I'm doing all right. So, how about you, Daniel?
I'm doing good. I took the week off so that I could organize. I got too much stuff. So when my wife moved in, sure, everyone's dealt with similar things like this. My wife moves in. Suddenly I've got like 3 or 4 sets of everything. And I just, it's been cluttered ever since then. But we got some really, really fun games recorded. I really, really enjoyed those. And other than that, yeah, I've been just kind of cleaning. I'm doing a large garage sale thing. That's why we're recording in the middle of the week here. So, yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I hate cleaning. It's like my least favorite thing, but it is what it is. And Slothy, yourself, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad. It is currently not snowing where I am right now. But 10 minutes ago, all I could see outside my window was white. Yeah, other than that, it's been pretty decent week so far. Like you were saying, got some really fun games in with the Rogue's Passage guys. Yeah.
Yeah, those were, what day did we do those? Was that Friday last week?
That was Saturday.
Yeah, we know it was Saturday.
So it was after
evening.
we had recorded, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
you guys murdered me.
So they're new to everyone. They were really fun games. We're into our season 2 of gameplay stuff. So we've got we like changed some lighting up and stuff, and I thought it was really good. I thought that it was, we have seasons. I thought it was, what's it called? I thought the lighting looked really, really good and everything. I was really worried that it was going to be just like behind the scenes stuff. I thought it was going to be way too dark because our overhead light causes some glare. And I was like, we're going to be playing in the dark, like we're playing some cave magic. But no, I had no problem with it. I thought it looked really good. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree. It turned out really, really nicely.
Yeah, better than I honestly thought. Like I was definitely pretty happy with it. So, but yeah, no, I'm glad.
Nice.
I'm hoping everyone else had a good week. We're kind of in the middle. And I think we might even double record today because why not, right? So if you see the videos and we're all wearing the same thing, just assume that we decided to color coordinate this outfit on a different week and you're good to go.
No, we're like an anime. They never change clothes, right? There you go.
Exactly. I'm like Stan Smith from American Dad kind of thing. You know, I've just got my one suit, the closet full of suits. It's this shirt. It's my shenanigans shirt. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, we're all still sick. It's the worst thing, too. Today, we're kind of talking a little bit about something I nonstop harp on, and all of us harp on all the time. And that is, it's staples. We're staple removing today. A little click, 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 click kind of thing. I don't like seeing the same deck all the time. It's kind of a bummer. And I don't know how everyone at home kind of feels, right? But I find a lot of Magic is going into that. What I like the most as a quick preamble is that I like that Commander's so unique. I like that there's like 4 people playing 100 card decks. And generally speaking, with my own math, at least, I'm going to see like 67 unique cards kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. We can give Soul Ring a thing, but I'm just seeing more and more and more lately that we're getting some like of the exact same cards in the deck. It's no longer really unique list. It's kind of like everyone's kind of, a lot of the time I'm seeing people go in with basically like the same 40 cards and then switching out 20, right?
And like that's the thing. We're not saying that you shouldn't play with staples. We're just trying to be like, okay, what can we do to decrease the amount of staples that we see in decks? Like you can see that, like, let's go with this, okay? The fact is, in Magic, there's like, over like 25,000, 26,000 cards. and yet we're still using the same like 100 cards throughout like all the different colors and artifacts, like for the majority of the decks. Like, come on, like we want more variety. Like, we're in a format where we have 100 cards. We should be seeing more variety, but we don't really see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're not saying that you shouldn't play with staples. We're saying like, hey, what can you do to get past playing with staples, or what else can you put in besides staples and whatnot? So, and that's what this conversation is about. Like, this is all unplanned. We're just like, hey, let's talk about this because it's something that we want to talk about.
I've been abundantly critical about a lot of like deck techs we do and stuff, when I'm just like, that's just the same cards. Like, you just run the same stuff. I've said it to lots of people. I've said it to lots of friends and stuff. There's like a lot of things that like I see in every deck style. And again, I'm not the best example, right? All I do is build like nonstop decks, so it's kind of hard when you build that many you just can't possibly have that many copies of the staples, right? So you have to think outside the box. Sherman lives for like that kind of budget brew. So you have, like different things, but it's so fun to hit people with what they don't expect. And anyone who's like played with me and stuff like that, it seems like a superpower, because I'm sitting there all the time and I just call out what people have in their hand. I'm like, oh, you have 2 white, 2 black, and a colorless source up. I'm like, try ink shield me when I attack. And everyone's like, ooh, did you see my cards? I'm like, no, you're just obvious. You're just very...
it's so obvious, yeah.
Yeah, it's
like the traditional, you keep 2 blue up. What are you going to do?
Yeah, right? Like, is it a bluff, or are you holding that, right? It's pretty easy. But then we look, I pulled up like just like some of the top cards from the past 2 years and stuff, right? We have a Swords to Plowshare in 62% of all decks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
And that's the thing.
Soul Ring's only in 84%.
So, and Soul Ring's number 1 for obvious reasons. Next is Arcane Signet.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I say like we gotta define what a staple is first. And I say like anything that like any card that you see often, even if it doesn't say like it's in a lot like a decks, like I say if it's in like at least 10% or above, you would almost pretty much consider a staple at this point in time if you go through the list through EDH Rec.
Well, because looking down to the top 100, the last one there is at 13%, which is still 1.8 million decks, and that is Beast Whisperer.
Yeah,
and that's because you got to consider that like you have like 5 colors plus colorless, right? So like you can't, like, Soul Ring's so high because it goes in like virtually every single deck, because it doesn't matter. But like, if you have something that's, multicolor, like I have like Rhythm of the Wild here, I don't even know what place it's in, but it's in 24% of all decks out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My kind of staple definition, I guess, is like, are you trying to build the deck with best in slot cards, right? Because sure, there's lots of best in slot stuff, right? If you're playing like casual, quote unquote, then a counterspell is going to be like the best in slot casual, like counter everything, right? The 2 blue. Swords is often going to be the best exile. Like I don't think there's anything. The Trimi's Rollick, maybe, right?
Yeah, like Swords and Path to Exile are the 2 best for white, hands down.
Yeah, but it's just like I see so many people only build with that like best in slot, and I guess it kind of goes into a little bit of a take I saw on Twitter. I can't even remember by who, but I thought it was interesting, and they said that casual commander is now high power commander, and I think we're kind of all guilty of seeing games kind of go that wayside, because right now everyone is using like I said, when I'm saying staples, I'm saying best in slot. So I'm seeing a lot of when's the last time you saw someone put in an Explosive Vegetation, right? It's not really played anymore because it's been pushed out by your lower mana 2-drop ramp, like your Farseek, your any of those. Lore. Yeah,
3 visits.
That's the one I was trying to think. 3 visits, any of those, right? Like they're all kind of getting pushed out and pushed down. Everything's getting faster and faster, right? And even the precons right now, the precons are coming pretty stacked. They're pretty stacked precons. Like What was the one you played, Gonti? And on one of the streams you played Gonti?
I played Gonti with the Rogue's Passage was over. We recorded that. And
I think three of us were playing basic precons almost, right?
Yeah, you were playing the
party deck, the cleric one, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and that was like pretty much pre-con.
Yeah, minor edits. I think Slothy edited up Pantlaza, right?
Yeah, I was playing Pantlaza, which only has like 5 to 8 changes to the precon.
Right, like we were playing mostly raw precons, and it was a fun game, but it was a crazy game. Like and a spoiler to the game and stuff, I got like every creature I had exiled. I had a monster board exiled, every creature, and I had rebuilt in like a turn. Like these are like
that was annoying.
Yeah, right. These are like crazy decks, and we're just seeing more and more of that because everything is going into the I guess power creep is one thing, right? But there's some cards that you just are seeing across every single deck. I've got to find a way to filter. Yeah, there we go. Filter by color. So I'm gonna check out like the top 100 white cards. I'll flip it over to that screen for the video and stuff. Everyone's gonna see like these are ones that are in every one of your games. You've got 62% with your swords, 42% of your path, right? Your generous gifts followed by smothering ties, Esper Sentinel. That's like it's just like the auto includes for a lot of people, right? Like I don't even think I put Esper Sentinel in a deck that isn't deliberately an annoying deck.
I don't think I put Esper Sentinel in a deck, period.
Yeah, like again, when I'm trying to make annoying decks, like my Duskana Hate Bears, like my other stacks deck kind of thing, I have a Gadget, annoying stuff, sure. But like I don't know, the same thing with like you're seeing Teferi's Protection. That card's showing up in 21% of decks that it could show up in. That's like 1 in 5 is running those cards and above, right? Like just I think that it's kind of watering down the game to only see because like you said, there's so many available cards. It's just it's a big format, right?
And kind of the crazy thing too with Smothering Tithe, Esper Sentinel, and Teferi's Protection. I feel like they would be in way more than 21 and 26% of decks if they weren't as expensive.
We'll be right back.
Ever thought modern video games should be more interesting? At the Gaming Blender, we take randomized genres, mechanics, and make a new game every episode.
I've added permadeath.
We have a survival game of a hardcore simulation, which could be House Flipper, and with the permadeath of XCOM. Then that all has to be an action-adventure.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't quite work.
And you have a construction off over the course of the narrative.
A construction off. The way we can do this is that we ditch your idea entirely.
Entirely.
Check out the Gaming Blender on all your favourite podcast platforms now.
Oh yeah, like if they weren't expensive, if they weren't hard to find, stuff like that, they would definitely be higher up there. But at the same time, like we're like, what are we going to do about it? What can someone do about it? Like for us as content creators and deck builders, okay, we deliberately try to avoid these staples, right? But when we play against others, we don't expect them to do the same thing. We just hold ourselves to these own standards. Like it's sort of like how we don't play with Cyclonic Rift anymore.
Yeah,
right?
I never included it. It'd be easy to.
Yeah,
100%.
Like I have like 10 decks now. I have 4 copies of Cyclonic Rift. It's only in one of my decks, and that's my Song Tribal, right?
Fair.
So, but that's because it's janky, right? It's a jank deck. So whatever. But I don't play with it at all. Do I expect anyone else to not play that? No, not really. It's our own standards, right? But once again, at the same time, what makes the game fun? Is it fun seeing the same things again and again and again, or not? And at the same time, if you do want to move away from staples, how do you do that? What do you do?
Yeah.
So the question for, let's say, for you, Daniel, and you, Slothy, what do you guys do to get around playing staples constantly?
You first, Slothy.
Sure. Kind of what I do is I look for cards that have similar effects but might be a little bit slower. Kind of like in last week's deck type where we did my Vihon deck. It is so easy to put Smothering Tithe in Vihon. It is so easy.
And Dockside.
And Dockside and all that. But there's other cards like Monologue Tax, which sure won't give you as much benefit. You're still getting benefit.
But at the same time, like, Monologue Tax is kind of becoming a staple for some people too, right?
I honestly think it's just because you can't find it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's making it hard for people to put in. It's just that you can't find it. It's sort of like Trouble in Pairs. Trouble in Pairs is such a strong card. If it was more readily available, everyone would have, or like the majority of people would have it in any deck that plays white.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you can't, like, you stop people from taking extra turns, and whenever they cast their second spell or like draw a second card, or whatever, you draw an additional card and whatnot, like, it's just crazy. It's so strong.
But I kind of think it's all about doing the kind of the legwork to find those alternative cards to your Smothering Tithes, to your Doubling Seasons, your Esper Sentinels, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think they keep giving white so much card draw that I don't think people really need that crutch. Maybe it could have been argued that Smothering Tithe was a necessity before, right?
Yeah, when it first came out, when Smothering Tithe first came out, that was during like when we first saw Eldraine, I believe, right?
Yes, that was in the Brawl decks.
Yeah, so that and Arcane Signet were like the two big things at that time. Like when Eldraine first came out, Arcane Signets were $10 each.
Yeah.
It was almost worth buying the extra Brawl decks just to pull out an Arcane Signet to trade it in. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, Smothering, at that time, like, white did not have much ramp. So everyone played with Smothering Tithe. But now, Smothering Tithe, like, it's useful, don't get me wrong. Like, making a treasure, and treasures like make you pop off real easily, but at the same time, like, I'm seeing it less and less because it is a little bit slow, and a lot of people don't know what to do with those treasures.
Yeah.
So, but like, wait,
let's while Sherman's over here dying from being sick still, let's maybe even in some of these and stuff, let's talk about some things that you could do for like kind of difference and stuff, right? Like, I really like to I like to run stuff like the dispatches, the condemns, those kind of things, right? Surge of Salvation is one of those new. It might not be Surge of Salvation. It's equal to the number of planes one. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I gotta search that one up.
Exile target creature equal to the number of planes. It's a great new. It gives you just a little bit less freedom on it, you know?
Yeah.
I will try and find what it is here. Yeah.
What? That was Surge something?
Yeah, I think Surge of Salvation gives you your
Oh yeah, here. Surge of Salvation for 1 mana, instant. Or sorry, 1 white, instant. UN permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Prevent all damage that black and or red sorcerers would deal to creatures you control this turn.
I found the one I was looking for. It's a Lay Down Arms. Lay Down Arms is like a watered down one. Exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of planes. Its controller gains 3 life. I like stuff like that, right? It's just a sorcery. It's watered down. But I find it's the only way to bring the power of your deck down is to get those slower alternatives out. I also really like to run things like an Angelic Ascension. That's exile target creature or planeswalker. They get a 4/4 beater. I don't care, generally speaking, because I wanted to get rid of their commander or something important.
I agree that, like, playing these things is nice to, like, it allows you to lower the power level of your deck, but at the same time, it comes down to are people willing to lower the power level of their decks? Because let's face it, we want to build decks where it's really, really strong. We want to impress people. We show them how well we build decks, yada, yada, yada. And we want to, like, let's face it, it's fun to dominate.
It's fun to win. It is, yeah.
It is fun to win, right? So, and, like, I could totally understand that. And, like let's face it, staples are around because they are so strong. Like, sure, we can play Lay Down Arms, but Lay Down Arms compared to a Sword to Plowshares or a Path to Exile, it's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's very, very, very huge. And yeah, like, I don't blame people for wanting to play with staples because of that. So, like, it does come down to, in my opinion, like, it does come down to the fact that when you're not playing with staples, you're making a chance, or you're playing with your power level. You're making it less powerful, but it technically doesn't have to be less powerful because of that.
Yeah. I think what you said right at the very beginning is a good thing, right? It's kind of like with the whole Great Magic Freeze thing we discussed before, right? You can only hold yourself to the standard, right? We can't make other people, short of like just like preaching the word of like, let's play Pauper, everyone, budget decks only. We can't really make other people do it, but we can make our own stuff, right? I've noticed that I kind of got into a bit of a bad place in it where I was only building high power stuff. I was teetering more into the competitive stuff, right? And a lot of times it was because I had like a collection that like exceeded that of the people I was playing with, so I could put in more powerful things. I had the card base to auto include all these things, right? I could put in all my silly things. But I just kept finding more and more that the games weren't fun. I was winning games, but like I wasn't having good interactions. And now I've really, really changed a lot of my build style around. I'm sure people listening to the podcast have seen that. I do a lot more kind of budget stuff. I use a lot more 3-mana rocks instead of just like trying to power ramp out. And I replace the weaknesses in decks a lot of the time just with those 3-mana rocks to be able to more consistently kind of hit my target. But I've just found my games that I don't run like swords basically in any decks anymore, right? Like only my ones that are meant to be as consistent as possible, where I'm trying to go hard. And I'm finding that I'm having a lot more fun. The games are a lot more different because they're not as consistent. They're not as autopilot, right? Everyone knows like when you can like Swords to Plowshare, right? It's very easy to not have to worry about a threat and let a board state get built up because, well, you know, I've got XYZ, I've got a beast in here, I've got a generous gifts, I've got whatever, right? You're packing those normal things. You're not, you're playing more aggressive because every deck has a heroic intervention or Teferi's protection, right? Like we've all seen it, right? Like there's, you have to play around that, right? You've got to, if I know in my play group, for instance, Sherman packs board wipes. There's no way around it. You don't play against Sherman and expect that he's just got no answers in his deck. He puts answers in, right? So my choice is to play my balls to the wall way and just, you know, I've got a Teferi's protection, so it's going to be all right. I don't need to do that. Or do I have to maybe politics a little bit better? Do I have to pay a closer attention to the board state, to the people I'm playing with? I've just found a more positive experience, right? You're forced to politics more. You're forced to kind of go outside of your wheelhouse and like make those deals, right? Instead of just, no, I've got a gun, it's loaded, pass.
Yeah, it's true. And like it's just the way it is, you know, like if you like the honest truth, in my opinion, is that like when you start moving away from staples or putting in a lot of staples, like we're always going to have some in our decks regardless.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to how many you're going to put in. If you put in like 20 or 30, it's going to be like very, very boring. Because like, let's say you put in 20, okay, then you have another like 34 cards that are lands. Okay, so now you're at 54. So you're telling me that you changed out 36 cards, so when you're bored with that deck, you take out those same 36 cards and you put in a different 36.
Well, yeah, less than half your deck is unique to another one of the same color.
Mm-hmm. That's boring to me. It's the honest truth, right? But when you start moving away from these staples and you start playing around with different things, I find that you tend to have more fun. And yes, you do lower the power level of your deck, but let's look at it this way, okay? Sure, it's fun to win, but you know what's more fun? Even more satisfying is the fact that you come from behind or you push your deck to the limit and you like find that out and you barely scrape by to get the win for the game.
Yep.
That is more entertaining. That is a higher rush when it comes to winning than being the king of the hill, in my opinion.
When you pull out nonsense cards that no one knows, and it's like a gameplay thing, no one's expecting something, it feels good. And the same as I really like to I like going into a game where I see a lot of people pick up to this. One of the games from this week, if you saw the live one, a lot of people just pick up with the I don't have an answer for this. But search for it, right? Like, it's ask other people. I love that, because I look at certain decks and stuff, and I notoriously pack nothing for removal. It's like you know what I mean? Like, I put removal in the deck like I'm allergic to it. Like, it's gonna cause me to have a reaction. There's no artifact, enchantment, removal. There's nothing. We're just going in with hopes and dreams and all gasoline when I play a lot of the time. And that's not a good way to play. It's not a wonderful way to play Magic, but it's very fun. But there's often times where if somebody comes into a game, I just might not have an answer to that deck. I might not be able to get around it, right? Had I included all of the auto staples, sure, I could have got around it more likely. I'd have a Psych Rift in whatever deck had blue instead of like 50 birds because I've built a bird deck or something. You know, that's But I like having to talk to the table and just say, like, hey, like, I can't do this. But when you politics your way to a win that you couldn't have got on your own, I think that's the most fun Magic. I think that's the best way, when you've made the deals, when you've made the correct assessment. Like, it just feels better. It's a better win, in my opinion.
It truly is. And like, you know, like when you barely win, it's always very, very, very fun. When you do it with other people, like, you can either play solitaire, which is like, if that's the case, you might as well just stay at home and goldfish, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But you're playing with 3 other people. You want to make it interactive. You want to make it fun, you know, and just like I said, just scraping by that win is such an adrenaline rush. Like, one of my favorite decks right now is a Murko deck. Okay, my Murko is based all around blinking, and there's times when I literally need to do math because I'm playing with that Ravenger's pirate from Ixalan, where it enters the battlefield and everybody loses 1/3 their life.
Yeah,
you know, and like, I'll be doing math and I'll be like, okay, as long as I'm above like 2 life compared to everyone, and I can blink this 3 times, I win. You know, things like that, right? And it doesn't. It's not like when Slothy plays his Murko deck, he just dominates. Okay,
that graveyard gas.
Going back
turn 4, turn 5, you're the problem, Slothy, every single bloody time. I don't care, man. You're always you're like a bloody. Oh my god.
Going back to what was said before, the only time I played Murko, 100% precon.
Right?
Yeah. And the precons are fantastic. But the way he plays, the way Slothy plays most things, to be honest, he's a problem at turn 4, turn 5. Right?
I think Slothy's very good at not being the problem until he's too much of a problem. I think he's very good at I'm just hanging out. I'm just a friendly little guy over here. Don't look over here.
I'm just chilling.
I verbally threaten the board every game, no matter what. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to be something. Someone will be like, I have a destroy spell in my hand. I'm going to cast it. Daniel, I'm going to destroy this. I'm like, if you do this, I'm targeting you for the game. If you do that, I'm targeting you for the game jar, I'd be rich. This house would be paid off, right? Like, I say it nonstop, and I constantly threaten myself into the target of everyone because I tell them I'm going to kill them.
Yeah.
I should take a page from Slothy's book.
And just be the problem regardless.
Be the problem, but silently. Silent problems.
Yeah, I'll just let you 3 fight it out until I can come in and clean up the mess you've left.
Half the time, he's clearly the problem, and I'm still threatening the whole table.
Yeah.
Him included.
Well, like for me, like when it comes to staples, the way I get around it, like it does help that I like playing budget decks, that I like playing jank, because when you're doing stuff like that, you're basically forced to not use staples that often, right? Mm-hmm. So like with my book tribal deck, okay, my paper magic, all right, every single art piece has to have a piece of paper on it, right? I can't have Cyclonic Rift in it. I can have a Force of Will, because like the newest versions of Force of Will, they have a book. But like I'm playing with, like, before, when I first played it, this is like how Daniel and I met, actually. Okay, he had a Madrofa deck, and I was playing a book tribal deck, or my book tribal deck. And he's like, my power level is like high. What's your power level? And I'm like, a 2, maybe. I'm still going to play it. I don't care, because I want to work on it.
It's book theme. Right?
Yeah. And I just kept on working on it. Now it's like up there to, like, I can sit down and play against Eder Precons, and it does decently, right? But like doing stuff like that forces you to not play with staples, or to work around things. Like, I didn't have a Soul Ring in this deck for a long time, a very long time. I have one now, because they printed it, a version of it for the Secret Lairs, and I got that one Soul Ring. So now my deck has a Soul Ring, but for the longest time it didn't have it. And like, you learn to work around that, because you're just like, okay, like if I want something like a Cyclonic Rift, what is closer to Cyclonic Rift? Okay, River's Rebuke. Okay, but it only affects one. All right, fine. That's okay. If that's the case, and I want to make it affect other people, what can I do? I can either get Graveyard Recursion, or I can copy the spell, right? So it's just coming up with solutions to match those staples. If you really, really want it. Sure, it's going to require 2 or 3 cards, or a combination of cards, in order to have the same effect as one. But that's literally how I do it. I find a problem, I see a card, it's a solution. Is it a staple? Well, I don't want to play with that staple. Or does it follow my theme? Or if it's is it expensive and I don't want to pay for that? Okay, fine. Then I start looking for ways to duplicate that in other cards.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. That's how I get past staples. It's like, I play jank, I play budget, I play stupid themes, and I come up with like 2 or 3 cards that do the same thing.
My build path is that I just build so many. I was in the Discord today. I was showing some pictures. I had a little bit of free time in my time off. I was like, I should build a deck. And now I've started building 35 decks, and I've got we just got to play a shipment of sleeves. Already need more, but yeah, I just started. I build a lot, right? So because I build in such bulk, I just you can't have that many of all these staples, right? That would bankrupt me.
I'm surprised you're not already bankrupt, considering you have like 800 plus decks.
Don't even worry about that. But yeah, no. So like I say, for me, I just have to constantly. I usually can kind of piece together the bulk of a deck, like an idea, based on what's just in my rare boxes. I'm like, okay, I want to make a great example is going to be for next week's episode, right? The can't say what it is. Spoilers. You'll find out if you're on Patreon. By the way, you'll see it early episode. Everyone gets the early access, so Patreon's a great spot. Come pay like even $1, hang out with us. It's a good time. But back to the thing, I just build out of boxes, and then I go through. I look through. Okay, well, I know that, like we said last week, March of Machines. I know that there were some counters, matter kind of things in there, and if I'm playing a deck that wants counters, let's look through those colors. Let's see, kind of just through the boxes, because I generally sort by color and then pull my rares out and sort them alphabetically. But yeah, I just go through and I find things, and then I look at. I kind of this is a long process, but I basically make a list of like a huge stack of cards like this, like a big usually probably 70 or 80 cards that I have. And then I cut down from there, and then I look, what is my deck missing? What's my ramp? Like, is my CMC going to be really high? Okay, well, now we need to add some rocks, because we're never going to get this. Tox was a great example, right? You're never going to get Tox roll out if you don't have ramp, because by the time, even if you're just waiting to draw 7 mana and you draw 7 in a row, and people are going to kill it. The Tox will have to come out fast, or he doesn't come out at all because he's going to die. So I just generally look through what is missing of those things, and then I just search boxes for cards to find it, and then I say, okay, well, maybe from there I'll check Gatherer, I'll make like a list, and I'll head to the card store. But my list is almost never it's never the popular cards, because I build so many decks that to me I can't justify. Like, what's Smothering Tithe right now? Smothering Tithe's $30. Can't justify throwing it in a deck that I might. I just built 35. I might not even get around to playing, 15 of them for next month, 2 months. It all depends, right? So I can't just throw $30 cards in piles that I'm not going to play. If I want to upgrade them and make them better later on, I do that. But for me, that's where it is. So I generally, I've been looking through just on the side here. I would say anything that's in 20% or higher of decks in the colors, they're generally not cards I play. They're generally like I would say let's call them the power staples, right? And maybe that can be even your goal is to get rid of the power staples, right? So let's look at some of what is power staples, right? If we look at our white cards here on the video, you've got your Swords to Plowshare in 62% of a decks that could run it. That's crazy. That's a huge number. Path to Exile, not as readily available, but still another 42% of decks. Though that's like a pretty insane number. We've got our Generous Gifts at 26%, our Smothering Tithe 26%, Esper Sentinel 21%, Teferi's Protection at 21%, and then we've got Enlightened Tutor as a honorable mention at 18%. I think that those are like a pretty good place to start cutting in at least white.
Just like even if you just cut, like just try playing or try building decks without the top like whatever colors you are. That's top 10 of those colors.
Yeah.
Just like the reason why I say top 10, because top 10 is quite a bit, right? Like, you can go top 20 if you really want, but top 10 is quite a bit already. Two, like, depending on staples or being dependent on staples, in my opinion, once again, this is, I always say my opinion just because I don't know about Sophier Daniel, this is, and what other people say. Like, this is kind of a hot take, but at the same time, I do believe this. When you rely on staples constantly, especially like the top 10, and like I do put some in my decks from time to time, I'll admit that. But when you do depend on them constantly and they're in every single one of your decks, you become a worse deck builder.
I always call Cyclonic Rift a deck building crutch.
Yeah.
It's just an answer to poor board state and poor deck building. It's here's an emergency reset. And believe it or not, it's in the top. I'll flip over to the blue power staples. We have our Counterspell. 43% of decks running Counterspell. It's a lot. Psych Rift in 29%. Does 30% of decks need a Psych Rift? I wouldn't. No. I wouldn't say so. Heuristic Study, again, another 29%. Why? Like, that's... I would say that's not an inherently low power card. It's got a crazy payoff. 30% of decks is nuts. We have Negate, 23%. Again, pretty good.
Yeah. Brainstorm,
again, out of all of these, Brainstorm's like a great one. But then you've got your Arcane Denial down at 19% and Offer You Can't Refuse at 18%. Like, that's a brand new counterspell. It's in 18% of available decks. Then we've got our Mystic Remora, which again, like, that was an outlier, like, competitive card for a long time.
And now everybody plays with it.
18%. Fierce Guardianship at 17%. Free counterspells are in the top 10. And then Swan Song.
Yeah. It's insane. Mm-hmm. It's insane. But, like, that's the thing. Do you, like, the only ones I can see people putting in constantly, which I'm okay with for blue, is Counterspell and Negate. Those are the only two I'm really like, whatever, I don't care. Okay? Because those are pretty much like the best counterspells out there that are very, very, very budget.
Yep.
Okay? Because Swan Song's anywhere from $8 to $16, depending on the version you have and where you go. There's guardianships like $30 to $50.
Again, a $50 card shouldn't be in like near 20% of decks. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think half the time we're doing decks that are like $100 to like $200 budgets, and one card's eating it up. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like what I find nuts is when talking to people, and when you like, everyone has a different idea of what a budget is or a budget deck is. Like our version of a budget is like maybe $150 pushing $200. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm extreme budget because I try to keep things close to $100. Okay. And if I really, really, really like the deck, then I'll power it up a little bit. Like once again, I'm going to go with Miracle. My Miracle deck started off as $100. I added in one card, and that was Displacer Kitten. And that just went off. And then I added in Sakashima. And now it's like around $200 just from adding like 2 cards. Right? But that's just the way it is. If I take those 2 cards out, it's like under $100. Right? But some people, they're like their budget's like, or a budget deck for them is $300 because their average deck is like $800 to $900.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, that's how you play. That's how you play. You know, I'm not going to yell at you or say like, you know, you're a bad person because of that, or you're bad deck builder because of that. You know, it's just the way it is sometimes. You know, like my Golem deck that we played for recording and anything, that's around $300. Because I have Nazgul in it. It's just the way it is.
Is that what pushes it so much? It's just those Nazguls?
Yeah, because they're like anywhere from like $11 to $16 each.
Crazy.
And I have 9 of them in. Right? Granted, I got them from Abyss Proxy Shop.
There you go. Good spot to plug them, yeah.
Yeah. So the value of my deck is a little bit lower because they are proxies and everything, but they're fantastic quality. They're all 9 Nazguls are different. Okay. I got them for like $26 US, not including shipping, but still, like the fact that I can get 9 Nazguls where it's like normally like pushing on $150 to $200 for $26, like, yeah, bring it on, right? But that's the thing, like I do have those decks that are like up in price range. Okay, price is not the issue. It's just the fact that, you know, like we're like, if you look at White again, Teferi's Protection. What can you do to replace something like Teferi's Protection? What else is out there? Well, there's like Teferi's Protection like phases all your stuff out, and basically your life total can't be touched. Right?
I love killing people through Teferi's.
Yeah. But like most people have it just to protect their stuff, right? So there's other cards like hang on.
Semester's End is a great one to get rid of, to save your creatures 3 mana. You blink all your creatures.
Which one?
Semester's End. I live.
Yeah, Semester's End is one of them. Okay,
I
so it's a
blink life.
3 and a white. Yeah, I got it right here. 3 and a white. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of the next end step, turn each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. For each of them, enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, and an additional loyal counter on it if it's a planeswalker. Like, that's a great card. It costs 1 more. They don't phase out, but that's the way it is, right? There's another one, like we have Ghost Away, 2 and a white. And then are instant, okay? Exile each creature you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Sure, it's not touching your artifacts, it's not touching your enchantments, but it basically does the same thing. And Ghost Away is $150 compared to how much is Teferi's Protection?
$40, I think, right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Even if I want to go higher than that, I can go like Eerie Interlude. Okay, 2 and a white.
40.
Yeah. Eerie Interlude is exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under your owner control at the beginning of the next end step. Once again, we're just getting rid of the stuff for board wipes, most likely, and then we're bringing them back in. Like, White has so many of these.
They
have so many.
And another one that I find really good, and I play in a lot of decks, Cosmic Intervention.
Oh, I love Cosmic Intervention.
Once again, it is one more Teferi's Protection, 3 and a white. But if a permanent you control be put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn, exile it and then return it, or exile it instead, and then return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
And it has foretell.
Yeah, it's kind of just an extra step, but you get the same result.
Yeah.
Like you literally have 4 answers right now from us. Okay, 4 cards. Okay, all dealing with basically your creatures. It doesn't touch your artifacts, doesn't touch your enchantments. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Ooh, okay. But those 4 cards are still cheaper than Teferi's Protection.
Those 4 cards together are, yeah.
Yeah.
You could get those 4 cards and then like a Happy Meal.
Yeah. Because and that's the thing that drives me crazy. Okay, I have Teferi's Protection. I don't have it in a single deck right now. You know, I have the original OG from the Commander set. Mm-hmm. You know, because that's where I got my Teferi's Protection from. I used to use it like crazy. Now I don't, because I have all these other budget options, and because I like playing budget, and because I found that Teferi's Protection was a crutch.
It's
something that I would always hunt for. And it's sort of like with tutors, okay? Like using like Sunforger, okay? I have Sunforger, I might as well put in Teferi's Protection, because the moment I have Sunforger, I know I can, protect myself at all costs with Teferi's Protection every single time. But sure, I can do that, but it's not as much fun.
I found the other one. Guardian of Faith is the other one I wanted to talk. It's $5. It's 2 double white Spirit Knight with Flash Vigilance. It's a 3/2. When it enters, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. Another wonderful budget save your creatures card.
Yeah.
Well, there's budget-er.
There's just so
much more budget.
Yeah, there's more budget. Yeah, but there's so many other cards that people could be playing with. And once again, sure, Teferi's Protection protects you from a lot of things, because it protects your creatures, or artifacts, or enchantments. Okay, yes, and your life total. Yes, we get it. Okay, but at the same time, it's not that big of a deal if you sacrifice that for something that's more budget. Okay, your wallet will definitely thank you. I can tell you that. Okay, your playgroup gets surprised more often when it comes to these things, because instead of just like, you know, like, oh, you have a Teferi's Protection. Okay, it's gone from your hand. All right, now you're going to play another like board wipe again. Oh, now you have another thing that protects all your stuff.
What I found interesting is, so I moved over to the black ones here. The black Shooters? Auto includes are
way less.
It's like nothing. Our people who like build the black decks just better Magic builders. We've got Demonic Tutor and 24%, which is still way lower than the top of every other color we've looked at. We've got Dark Ritual at 21%, and then everything else is right under. Like our top 10 are Vamp Tutor at 19%, which again, I would say is a more high power card. But then you have like your Feed the Swarm, your Toxic Deluge, Reanimate, Phyrexian Arena, Blood Artist, Victimize, Zulaport. I think that some of them are like some staples. Like Victimize is great, lots of reason to run it. But that's only 12%, right? A lot more variance.
Feed the Swarm is definitely understandable, just because like if you're playing mono black, that's the only way to really get rid of enchantments.
Yeah,
you don't understand that.
You don't have much other option with that, so.
Yeah, and then you have the Blood Artist and Zulaport Cutthroat just because for aristocrats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Toxic Deluge I can see being up there just because it was just reprinted in the Commander deck for Murders at Markov Manor, so more people have access to it, so more people are playing it.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised Damnation's not there.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the list of the.
Damnation's actually only in 9% of decks that can run it.
Just because it's so expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if that's a cost thing. Yeah, looking at the black staples, there's not many crazy things. Like we see even Deadly Rollic's down in 10%. And I would say that that's the best removal spell in black, right? It's
definitely up there.
Yeah, there's a lot, but these are all cards I often don't see. Like we've got, again, a Viscera, Seer, Bolas Citadel, Deadly Dispute, Village Rites, Sign of Blood. Those are all cards I don't see generally, and most of them have a drawback, right? Like losing life, sacking creatures. You got to throw a creature or an artifact. You got to lose life, right? There's
we might as well go through all the colors and the color list. We've already gone through 3. Might as well keep going.
Yeah, so let me hit the. Let's look at the red. I was just looking at red, and no surprise there.
Red has a massive drop off.
Yeah, Blasphemous Act in every deck, 34% again. Chaos Warp 33, but I do think Chaos Warp should be pretty much everywhere. It's so good. Mm-hmm. We've got a Jessica's Will, although there's lots of great Chaos Warp adjacent things like your Guff Rewrites History and stuff, your Wild Magic Surge. Those are just great options. Mm-hmm. Jessica's Will has no business being in 18% of decks.
Oh.
18% of decks that can run Jessica's Will do. That's nuts. Faithless Looting, understandable. Pretty good. Vandal Blast. Again, 17% of decks are destroying everyone's artifacts. Why? Then we look at our next ones. Our next line here, we have Dockside in 17% of decks. That's annoying.
That doesn't need to be. That does not need to be there.
Dockside's at $94, and it's in 17% of decks that can run it. That's like, what are people doing?
Playing Pioneer.
Right? Well, these are the EDH stats. Like Commander players are the ones just going like crazy on these cards. Like I personally can't understand it. To me, it just seems kind of absurd on its face that Dockside would be so. It's $100 card. I have decks $100.
I think why Dockside was so not expensive in so many decks is because it was from the precon, so a lot of people had access to it right away.
They wanted it, yeah.
Yeah, they wanted it. They saw that card spoiled. They went and spent the like 40 US or whatever it was at the time to go and get that deck just for the Dockside.
That card's more than the deck was.
Yes, 100%.
At that time, yeah. It came on the Saheeli one.
So. Was it Saheeli or was it Savine?
That was Savine.
No, Saheeli.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was in the Savine deck.
It was Savine. I've got that deck.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, because I thought it came in the Commander ones where like all of them were the Planeswalker.
No.
Dockside Prism.
Well, all right, fair enough. Anyway, but like
Commander 29.
Like, it's just insane that like like everyone's going nuts for Dockside. Like Dockside is strong, yes. But at the same time, the floor for it is so stupidly bad, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, what can we replace Dockside with? Well, like anything else if you really want. So, like, I don't think Dockside's that great. Like, you can go infinite with it easily. Yeah, sure. Like, throw Dockside with like Nin Death Mantle, and a sack outlet, and then as long as people have like your opponents total have like 5 artifacts, you can have infinite treasures.
Listen to this. It was in the Mystic Intellect deck, the Jeskai flashback one with Savine and stuff. That deck right now's cost is $120.95, and Dockside is $90.95 or something.
Yeah, so you might as well just buy it and just like trade it in.
if you can find that deck, buy it, pull Dockside of it, and then you've paid for like your full deck essentially. Like that's crazy. You're getting free Soul Rings and everything at that point. But yeah, then the same thing. Like we go back to we have a deflecting SWAT. I like a Braid. I think a Braid's pretty good removal and stuff. It's got nice it has nice modes on it, but a nice 11-cent card. But if you look at like these ones, like two of our top 10 are a $94 card and a $50 card. Again, and Jessica's Will is $20, and that was right after a reprint. Jessica's Will just got like reprinted in one of the Commander decks, I think.
In Murkoff Manor again.
Yeah.
Murder of at the Murkoff Manor. Yeah.
I'm guilty of a lot of these green staples. Looking at these ones, ooh, these are.
Let me guess. Cultivate, 3 visits, Farseek.
Cultivate's number 1. 48% of decks. I put it in all of mine. We got Beast Within again. 41% of decks. It's good removal, but like I don't really run it as often. A Rampant Growth, a Farseek.
Destruction.
Yeah, it is land destruction. That is the right way to play it. But if you look at it, this is like the basic package of like mana ramp: Cultivate, Rampant Growth, Farseek, Kodama's Reach, Nature's Lore, Birds, and 3 visits. That's like
when
6 of the 10.
When you look at the top 10 of green, it's like, okay, how many people are guilty of literally having all 10 of these cards in every single green deck?
Eternal Witness, again, the same thing. Like, doesn't, and again, green's the first one. We've got a ton. We have to go into the second row to find things that are under 20%.
Yeah.
Land of War Elves and 23%. Insane. I get it. I get that one.
Like, green I can understand just because green is the color for mana fixing.
But again, Sylvan Library and 15% of decks is silly.
That's just insane. You do not need that the Sylvan Library. You do not need it.
Even when we look down at like a Nature's Claim, that's like something you consider a staple. I've seen you in deck building say like, oh yeah, like I have some staples like Nature's Claim. We're down to the 12%, right? Something that's like in the 10 or 12%. I don't mind.
Nature's Claim I put in because like, it's a single green. When I don't have that many staples, I throw it in. But if I don't have it, I'm going to throw in something like Wilt. Okay, where can destroy like enchantment or artifact, and then it has cycle.
I don't know why Krosan Grip's not in more. Split second, destroy target artifact or enchantment is so powerful, and that's only showing up in 10% of decks.
I don't know. But
let's
it's like,
let's check our color list. Number 1 is Soul Ring. It's gotta be.
I imagine Soul Ring, Signet, both boots.
Yeah.
You're pretty much perfect on those, yeah. Soul Ring, Signet, both boots. We've got a Fellwar Stone, 21%.
Mind Stone, Commander Sphere, Thought Vessel, Solemn. What's number 10?
Number 10 is a Skull Clamp. I'm shocked at that.
Oh.
If scrolling down though, I'm not horrible on these ones, right? I don't really put the boots in. You should put some protection in. These ones are a little more okay, right? Fellwar Stone, Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, great little mana rocks and stuff. But then we come down to our line 3. We've got Mana Crypt has crept into 11% of decks.
Oh my goodness.
It's in 11% of almost 4 million decks. It is a Mana Crypt, and we've got a Jeweled Lotus in 8% of those decks. Like, those are insane numbers. The same with a Mana Vault, a Chrome Mox, that's a lot. 11%. Like 1 in 10 decks are running a Mana Crypt. How would you feel if you're sitting down to try play like a casual game and someone's like, yeah, it's everything's a 7. Everything's got to be a 7, right? So I'm playing a 7 and then everyone's like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm just like, yeah. So anyways, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Land, Toxrill Pass or something like that. Like
this is one of the reasons why like things like 1DH decks are around. Where for anyone that doesn't know, like a 1DH deck is basically every single card is under $1. So you cannot play with a Soul Ring. You cannot play with Arcane Signet. Every single thing is under $1. If you want to make an exception, make your commander exception. Say like it can be like any cost, okay, or any price value, but the rest of the 99 has to be under $1. Like doing stuff like that makes things harder for you to play or deck build. Okay, because like we just went through all the colors and except for the multicolors and whatnot, but the majority of them are above $1.
Yep.
Try making a deck that's a 1DH. Every single card's under $1. It's possible. I have like 3 of them.
The multicolor sections is kind of interesting. A lot of these are in a lot of decks. We've got our Dimir, Signet, Rakdos, Izzet. So we've got a lot of them are basic Signets. And I think that's pretty great. The price has come down tremendously on them. I'm shocked.
Just like mana fixing.
I'm shocked to see Boros Charm in so many decks.
Probably for the indestructibility.
I guess it does indestructible. We've got Assassin's Trophy in near 30% of decks that can run an Assassin's Trophy. Wild. Some of these, again, we've got a Dovin's Veto in 22% of decks that can run it.
Yeah.
It's, like looking at some of this, like this is, for anyone looking at the video, there's a lot. Timeless Lotus is in 13% of decks that can run it. That's pretty weird. I guess if you're playing 5-color, it's a 5-color rock. It's still like $16 though. Maybe it's just because it's got Lotus stapled onto it.
Maybe.
The multicolor, I'm like I said, I'm pretty happy to see that it's mostly your color fixing signets and talismans. I like to run a lot of those. I'm shocked Rhythm of the Wild is in so many. I never play that card. I never really see it played. Growth Spiral I see in every deck that's Simic. Simic or Simic adjacent, you got Growth Spiral.
Yeah.
Selesnya Signet is only in 10% of decks that can run it.
Yeah, I guess you don't really need it. If you got green, you don't need to focus on it.
Yeah, because you might as well grab land because people don't destroy land for the most part, right?
Yeah, we should do a whole episode on why you should start destroying lands.
We kind of did
this
last episode.
This is the second time we've talked about this, so I think it has to happen.
Maybe we do one at some point on Commander taboos and why you don't do them.
Or Commander hot takes.
Commander taboos and why you should break them. Showering before games.
Like,
you must have a threatening scent as you enter the room.
Yeah, there you go.
People have to.
There's an aura. There's an aura around me. I like it. Oh, that makes me laugh. No, I think I would say takeaway from this is maybe stop adding win more cards. Like again, there's no right or wrong way to build. I built the wrong way very frequently. But like if you're seeing a card, I don't like cards in my games that are generally going to be played in every game, right? If I play 4 games a night and I see 4 Teferi's protections across 4 games, that kind of it feels stale, right? At that point, like, why am I not just like playing a 4 of format and playing all these cards that I want and trying to win as hard as I can?
Yeah.
Command 4 of each cards in each deck, 400 card decks. Let's go.
You mentioned you were out of sleeves, Mr. Dan.
Yeah.
Did you use all 106 in each pack?
Oh, no, not yet. No, these ones all have 100 because I'm out of lands. Lands, yeah. You said some of the AI have 106?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I sleeved the Meep, it had 106 sleeves in it.
Look at that. Extra ones for if you burst them. I think a lot of people tend to burst sleeves and wreck sleeves if they're double sleeving.
That or like just like when they're like shuffling it, like forcing it in because it catches the corner sometimes.
I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a sleeve burst, but I never double sleeve anything. So, and
fair enough.
And I don't get to play all of my decks that many times, right? Like if you only, like Sherman said, like Sherman's up to 10 now, right? Sherman's going to play those 10 a lot more than me, who has 35 mostly finished decks on the table right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm probably shuffling way less.
Yeah. Like I'm swapping all my sleeves slowly here and there as I'm going to, because I rotate through my decks often. Like I only have like 3 decks that I keep consistent, and the other ones like I'll go through a rotation and I'll swap them out for building new decks. That's how I keep everything kind of fresh for myself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like my takeaway on this with the staples and trying to move away from staples is, like, in all honesty, just give it a shot. Okay, it's a habit that you have to constantly do in order to get used to and get better at. You can't, like, if you do it once and you're like, see, I did it, I can do it, blah, 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 that's it. And then you go back to the way you were building, where you're building with staples constantly, you're not really doing it, right? It's like going on a diet or going to do exercises every week or something like that. Like, the more consistent you are, the easier it gets. And, like, once again, there's over like 25,000 cards. 25,000. We should technically see a better variety.
A huge variance, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't. And there's a reason why, right? Sure, it's great to win, but at the same time, like, they're kind of stale wins, right? Like, a few of you guys know I play chess, okay? I can play against a computer at a certain level and beat it every single time.
Yeah, because it's going to make the same moves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Will I get better? No. I have to force myself to play against a stronger engine every single time in order to get better. Same deal here. You can build the same deck again and again and again and swap out your same 36 pieces. But are you really becoming a better deck builder? Are you becoming a better player? Like, that's up for your interpretation. In my opinion, I think that doing or continuing to build with the same 56 cards in your deck or 54 cards in your deck is kind of a crutch.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Well, and that's before staples, right? Like a lot of people are running. If you're mixing, like you're in a 3-color kind of deck, a lot of people are running the same, like the top 10 in each 3. So you're now like at 65 or 70 cards before you start building.
Yeah. And that's why when you listen to our deck decks, sure, I'll mention I put in staples, right? And my staples are anywhere from a handful to up to 10. Okay, I might push 12, maybe, but after that, everything else is your basic lands or whatever, or stuff like that. And then I go into the meat and potatoes. So when we did the deck tech for the Eretti, the Beguiler deck, okay, I was literally using cards that you guys have probably never seen in Commander ever.
No, I like that deck a lot too because of that.
Yeah,
you were playing silly nonsense.
The salt level is definitely off on that one,
right?
So, but anyways, yeah, I say everybody that's listening, please just consider trying to do it again and again and again. Okay, you can't do it once or twice or so and be like, yeah, I've done it. Okay, I'm really, really, really good. No, you gotta do it consistently, and you'll find that it's more fun deck building when you do this. We cannot be doing this every single week, building deck, when we're literally telling you the same freaking 54 cards. And we might as well just show you okay, here's our regular RAM package because we're in green.
Yeah, 20-minute episodes.
Yeah, here's blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a 20-minute episode because we're literally just going to tell you the cards that we've swapped out. Okay, here's the basic template. All you have to do is play the same deck, just swap out these other 36 cards. We don't do that. All right, and if you want to do that, fine. But that's what this has evolved to. Just try building again and again and again, using you will use staples. I know that. Okay, I use staples.
Yeah.
But try limiting it down to a dozen or so.
Yeah, try chill out a little.
It's more fun. It's more you're being more creative. So, but I've ranted enough. I think it's time for Slothy to give us his final take on this topic.
Give us your takeaway, Slothy.
Yeah, honestly, I very much agree with what Sherman was saying. I think that people should really try to push and apply themselves to finding these staple alternatives or different things you can do that's not just throwing the same cards in every deck, because it just gets boring. Boring to play against, boring to see across the table. Kind of like Dan was mentioning in last week's episode with Vihan. He's holding up removal for Smothering Tithe in that deck, for
I'm leaving all
Unwanted Procession.
And I'm leaving all of your other stuff alone because I want to get those off the board.
But then, oh no, that deck doesn't have either of those in there. So that is another thing that just kind of throws people for a loop. They're expecting this certain thing, so they're holding up stuff for this certain thing, and then you're subverting the expectations by not having that. And it makes for more interesting, kind of like how Dan and I are every time we talk about one of Sherman's decks, being like, oh, what does that do again?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I think it's a really good practice for people to try to look for a lot of the cards that they find that they're playing a lot in decks and find different alternatives for them.
I also kind of like to build two versions of a deck, right? And a lot of times if I do that, I'm going to have one as higher powered, And it's not fun if I build 2 versions of a deck and they're all the same cards. That's kind of a boring deck, right? So maybe that's another way of looking at it. Like, build your main deck and then build a second version of it. Just even theory craft a second version, see what's different, and maybe mix and match a little. Maybe cut the budget down $100 from your crazy decks.
Yeah.
Or if you build that first deck, and then try building a second deck, and that second deck cannot have a single card except for maybe lands. Cannot
it doesn't
have
share
a single card from the first one you built.
Give them a soul ring. At least let them have a soul ring, maybe a signet.
All right, fine.
Depending on your colors. You get a signet. If you're 3 colors, you can have signet of both.
Yeah. But like, it's interesting to do stuff like this, right? Like why do I like building things that was jank in it or older cards and everything? Because like, 1, not many people see that stuff, and 2, you're literally forced to look outside of what people normally build with, and it's difficult. It is very difficult, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, because you know what to look for, right? And those new cards that people don't play with become staples for you, and pet cards and whatnot. And then you start seeing other cards that are like that, or other people start playing with cards that you've never seen. And it's kind of like a snowball effect. The more you do this, more other people will do it, just because it is really interesting.
Well, and you get better at scouring Scryfall and Gatherer and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you learn how to like look at certain things, and like it does take time. That's the biggest issue with doing this stuff, is that it does take a lot of time to look for certain cards, right? But once you find those certain cards, it is worth it, because those cards are so weird that it just tends to stick in your memory. Or you can do what I do. I don't know about what you do, Daniel, and you, Slothy, but I literally have, like, I use Arcadeck, and I literally have a deck list where I just name it, like, collection. And anytime I find a card that's interesting, I literally load it up in there and I save it. It has like 300 plus cards.
That's a good idea. I use Architect a lot, but I never use it for saving silly nonsense. I should.
Yeah, because people like, they tend to take pictures. Like, they see an interesting card and be like, "Hey, can I see that card?" And they take a picture of it, right? And then you forget about it, right? But with this one, when I do it this way, I literally have that list in front of me anytime I want to go and look for something that's different. Okay, and that's how I find a lot of weird cards. Okay, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So like I'll do this where, like, if Slothy, if you're playing something like that I've never seen before, and I think it's really interesting, I'll just bring it up on my phone, and I'll add it to the deck. Okay, it's not a legal deck because there's 300 plus cards in it right now for mine. Okay, but in the future, when you're building, it's like, hey, I don't know what to put in. You can go through and look it up. So, for example, like, one card I found that I'm trying to find a reason to use is it's called Suppress or Suppression. Let me look it up here real fast. It would help if I can spell. Here, Suppress. Okay, so it's from Apocalypse. It's a 2 and a black. All right. Target sorcery speed. Target player removes all cards in his or her hand from the game face down. At the end of that player's next turn, that player returns those cards to his or her hand. Has anyone ever played a card like this? Probably not. However, it is so stupid. It is a really stupid card. Target player exiles all cards from their hand face down at the beginning of the end step of that player's next turn. They get those cards back in their hand. It's so stupid. But I bet you, if whoever plays this card, if you play it on someone that has a full hand, okay, or is a problem, okay,
Slothy,
they're gonna be annoyed at you, and everyone else at the table is gonna laugh, because no one has seen this card, and it's a useless card for the most part, but it is so silly and so fun. And that's what I mean by you have 26,000 cards.
Yeah, go through
like let's look at EDH Rec real fast. Let's see how many are in the deck. So suppress. Okay. Use 0%.
Let's go.
It is in 366 decks. That's it. 366 decks. It is a stupid card. Suppress. SUPPRESS.
Where am I? I have a similar deck that you just made me think about that really quickly. We'll end there, but it's I have Perforos Bronze Blooded, and the theme I went is Phoenix.
Yeah,
and like I haven't looked at it in a long time. Oh yeah, there's currently 40 Phoenix Dexes. Dexes isn't a word. There's 40 Phoenix. Yeah, Dexes is a word now. It's the word of the day. There's only 40 Phoenix decks on that, and like that's wicked. I love the fact that there is just no people are playing like stupid things like my Phoenix deck.
Mm-hmm. Like, I occasionally go on and look to see what people are sticking one of my favorite cards of all time, Strixhaven Stadium, in.
Oh yeah,
and it's actually finally kind of got a good home in Felix 5 Boots, but it is only played in 1% of decks. It's only in 27,000 decks.
You never see that.
You never see it.
And I think 26,000 of those decks are mine.
I was gonna say with only 39 people have the adjacent thinking with me of this this Phoenix Perforos deck. It's so fun. If you ever want a silly deck, build a Perforos Phoenix deck. All of the cards are dirt cheap because they suck, and it's so fun to play. Oh man, I gotta play that on stream.
Once again though, like this, like like we're all saying, it's more fun when you move away from staples and you start playing with silly cards. Because like that's also another like I know this episode's gone long. I was
gonna say we got to wrap.
But it's one of those things where people are, like we do get messages from people who are saying like, hey, this is a really interesting card that you use. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. Why do you think we do that? It's because you guys want this stuff. We're telling you, like, we're giving you guys these cards. You guys should try to do it because the reaction you guys have from listening to us talk about these weird cards that no one uses, like Suppress, when you use it in your play group, you get the same reaction. And everyone thinks you're a genius because you're pulling this out of your rear end. And you're like, ha, see, check this out. Anyways.
All right, I suppressed this episode. Now we have to wrap. Thank you guys for getting through. We had a long talk. What's your favorite staple to run? Like, what do you auto include in decks? And would you ever consider not keeping it in the deck? It's not for everyone. You don't have to change it, but I just like the idea that we're going to do different things. If you like our content, it's all available on our website. We've got articles, we've got gameplay, links to our YouTube video, blah, blah, blah. Follow us on our social medias. I'd say that we're the most active kind of on Instagram. That's the one which are always on. Join Patreon if you want to come build decks with us and stuff. Great spot in our Discord. We even have a free tier on Patreon, so you can see like all of the leaks and spoilers, talk deck tags. It's a great spot. So if you want, join Patreon even as free tier. You don't get all the benefits, but yeah, it's great. If you do join Patreon, we're going to be doing the patron streams. We're going to build decks. You have your own private chat, a little more interaction with us and stuff like that. And it's a great way to support us. If you don't want to do that, then that's mean. But farther than that, just like, share, subscribe. It really does help us get found out and everything. Check out the AI armor sleeves that I'm going to be shoving into all these decks and stuff. They're really good sleeves. They've been just great to us. So check them out. Buy some of that stuff. You don't need a promo code. Like they're already great price. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and Abyss Proxy Shop. If you want to proxy those expensive staples and not pay for them, you want to put a dock side in every deck. Maybe don't spend $100 on it. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for checking us out, everyone.
Yeah, now we just let everyone have a minute. Oh, the music's done. All right.
Dance party's over.
Bye-bye.
Laters.